Let me describe last evening for you. You were in the cab home, and you weren't on your phone. You were just staring. Outside, the city was doing what cities do. Inside, you were somewhere else entirely. You got home. Food was on the table. Someone said, "Aaj late ho gaye, kaam zyada tha." You nodded, because how do you explain what actually happened? Nothing happened. That's the problem. Your boss talked over you in the morning meeting. A colleague made a comment, throwaway line. Everyone laughed, moved on. You were not CC'd on an email you should have been on. It wasn't dramatic. Nobody screamed, nobody threw anything. If you tried to describe it, they'd say, "Bas itni si baat, itna bura lag raha hai." So you didn't describe it. You just nodded. You ate, you stared at your phone without seeing anything on it. And now, lying in the dark, there is this weight, this exhaustion that doesn't match the day. Here's what I want you to understand tonight. You are not tired because of your KRAs, not because of the pending files or the Excel sheets or the 47 unread emails. You are tired because your brain has been processing survival threats for 8 hours straight, and it cannot tell the difference between a predator on the African savannah and a manager in a glass-walled meeting room in Gurgaon. In the last episode, we identified the predator, primate posturing, the baboon in the suit, the dominance display. But identifying the predator is only half the story. Tonight, we talk about the wound. A researcher named Andrew Miner gave 41 employees small handheld computers. At random intervals during the workday, over 2 to 3 weeks, the device would buzz. One question would appear. What just happened? How do you feel? They collected thousands of data points. Here's what they found. Positive interactions outnumbered negative ones. For every difficult moment, there were 3 normal, decent ones. The workplace, statistically speaking, was mostly fine. Sounds encouraging. Then here's the part that changes everything. Negative interactions carried 5 times the emotional weight of positive ones. 5 times. One sarcastic remark in front of your team outweighs 5 kind interactions. One meeting where your idea is passed over destroys an entire week of normal, decent behavior. The deck is rigged, and nobody told you. Now, think about your office. Think about the WhatsApp group where you ask a clear, relevant question about process and it's completely ignored. But the next message from your manager's favorite gets 20 thumb emojis within 30 seconds. Think about the annual appraisal where last year you were rated AAA, excellent across every dimension, and this year, after you pushed back on something, after you said something you were entitled to say, the rating becomes A, uniform, across every single KRA. Every attribute, every column says the same thing. Your contribution not up to the mark. 14 times, different parameters, same sentence, not one original observation, not one specific example. Just copy-paste. That is not a performance review. That is a message, delivered with a signature and stored in your permanent record. And your nervous system received it, 5 times louder than any praise you have ever received in your entire career. Robert Sutton, in the No Asshole Rule, names something he calls battered bystanders. It isn't just the targets who bleed. A British study found that 73% of people who merely witnessed bullying at work, not experienced it, just watched it happen, reported significantly increased stress. 44% began worrying they'd be next. So that junior colleague who watches how you're being treated, she's absorbing it. The person who sees your email getting ignored in the group, he's calculating his own odds. The entire floor is contaminated by one person's behavior. One company calculated the total annual cost of a single toxic manager. Top performer. Numbers on paper looked great, but a documented serial humiliator. The bill, from legal fees, attrition, recruitment costs, lost productivity, medical claims, $160,000 for one person in 1 year. In Indian offices, we don't calculate this. We say, "Uska style hi aisa hai, boss hai," and the bleed continues. Sutton's data tells us what is happening. It doesn't tell us why a single sarcastic line on a Monday morning can ruin your entire week. For that, we have to go further back, much further back. 3.5 million years ago, your ancestor, scientists call her Lucy, was roughly 3.5 feet tall, 60 pounds, brain the size of a large orange. She lived on the open African savannah, and out there she was prey. Lions, leopards, hyenas, every predator faster than her, stronger than her, designed by millions of years of evolution to kill exactly her. Lucy had one advantage, not speed, not strength, not claws, her group. Together, they could watch every direction. Together, they could make noise, throw stones, drive predators back. Together, they could survive. Alone was not difficult. Alone was not inconvenient. Alone was death. William von Hippel in The Social Leap writes something that should stop you cold. On the savannah, exclusion from the group was not embarrassing. It was not uncomfortable. It was a death sentence. And because of this, our ancestors evolved a specific, powerful response to the first signal of being cast out. The ones who didn't feel it, who shrugged off rejection, who said, "Chalta hai, I'll manage alone," they died, in the grass, alone. The ones who felt a deep primal alarm at the very first sign of exclusion from the group, they survived, reproduced, and passed that alarm down through 3.5 million years of human history, until it arrived in you.
Sitting in your office in Bengaluru, or Gurugram, or Mumbai, watching yourself get quietly removed from an email chain you had been on for weeks, no explanation, no conversation, just gone. Your brain did not know you were in an office. It only knew the group may be turning on me, and it fired every ancient alarm it had, the same cortisol surge, the same rapid heartbeat, the same anxious scanning of every face in the room. That is not anxiety. That is your survival system doing exactly what it was built to do. This is not philosophy. This is neuroscience. Social rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your brain processes being excluded from a meeting through the same circuits it uses for a broken bone. Now, think about what happens in your office. Every single day, your boss talks over you in front of the team. Your brain reads, "Status threat, I am losing rank." You're not CC'd on an email you should have been copied on. Your brain reads, "The group may be preparing to exclude me." Your name doesn't appear in the project report despite you doing the majority of the work. Your brain reads, "I am being erased from the group's memory." This is how exclusion begins. Your idea gets discussed in the meeting as if someone else suggested it. Your brain reads, "My contribution is invisible. If I am invisible, why would the group keep me?" None of these thoughts are conscious. You don't sit there thinking about savannas and predators. You just feel the tightness in your chest, the low-grade dread that follows you into the evening. The reason sleep doesn't come easily. Your body is fighting for its life in an air-conditioned office under fluorescent lights while someone gives a PowerPoint presentation about this quarter's targets. I worked at one of India's largest banks for over a decade, and I want to tell you about a period, not a day, not a week, months, when I could feel something changing inside me. Not from one thing, from the weight of all of them together. A meeting where I was asked for my opinion, I gave it, the room moved on as if I hadn't spoken, not argued with, not questioned, passed over, like the sentence never left my mouth. A leave I had applied for months in advance, formal emails, HR escalation, proper procedure, everything documented by the book, and on the morning I was supposed to travel, someone tried to hand me the branch keys, not by accident, by design. A performance appraisal where the previous year I had been rated AAA, and this year, after I had pushed back on something, after I had chosen to not stay quiet, every single KRA became your contribution not up to the mark. Every single attribute became much more improvement needed. Even, ironically, communication, assessed by an officer who could not write a single unique sentence across an entire feedback form. None of it was dramatic enough to photograph, none of it was violent enough to report. Each individual act was, technically, survivable. But here's what nobody tells you about this kind of damage. It doesn't just make you tired, it changes how you see yourself. After enough meetings where your voice is passed over, you stop raising it. After enough exclusions from email chains and decisions, you stop expecting to be included. After enough appraisals that put your failure in writing, signed, stamped, permanently filed, you begin to believe it. You start standing a little shorter. You email more carefully. You agree more quickly. You take up less space. You don't notice it happening. It doesn't happen in one day. It is glacial.
And one day, maybe in the parking lot, phone pressed to your ear talking to no one yet, or in the washroom mirror between two meetings, you catch a glimpse of someone and for a half second you don't recognize them because somewhere between the first time and the 100th, between the first dismissal and the 500th small erasure, something was taken from you so slowly that you never even felt it leave. So, let's name it. Not the predator. We named that last time. Primate posturing, the dominance display, the baboon in the suit. Tonight, we name what the predator leaves behind. Slow bleed, the cumulative psychological and physiological destruction caused by repeated, individually minor acts of workplace degradation, each one survivable on its own, collectively devastating across time, processed by the brain as continuous survival threats due to our inability to distinguish social danger from physical danger, characterized by gradual erosion of self-worth that cannot be traced to any single event, chronic exhaustion disproportionate to physical workload, a growing inability to advocate for oneself, the persistent sense that something is being taken without being able to name what. In the Indian corporate context, the slow bleed is uniquely potent because the financial leopards are real. Home loan EMI, school fees, parents' medicine, the knowledge that if you lose this job, there is no safety net waiting, no unemployment benefit, no severance guarantee, just silence from recruiters who will eventually ask, "Job kyun chhodi? Koi issue tha?" So you stay. And the bleed continues. Origin of term. In medicine, a slow bleed is more dangerous than a catastrophic injury because a catastrophic injury triggers emergency intervention. The slow bleed does not. The patient does not know they are dying, they just feel tired.
Sutton showed us the math. 5 to 1. One act of cruelty carries 5 times the weight of one act of kindness. The deck is stacked. And the people who stack it almost never answer for it, because no single act is ever dramatic enough to trigger consequences. Von Hippel showed us the reason. 3.5 million years of evolution wired your brain to treat every social threat as a matter of life and death, because for your ancestors, it was. The exhaustion you feel every Sunday evening, that dread that starts building around 7 p.m. before the week has even begun, that is not weakness. That is your nervous system running a survival program it was designed to run in short bursts, being forced to run it continuously, for months, for years. The tightness before you swipe your access card? That is not a character flaw. That is your ancient alarm system doing its job, scanning for threats in an environment where threats are constant and invisible. The way you've gotten quieter in meetings, started prefacing your opinions with, "Sir, maybe I'm wrong, but..." stopped pushing back? That is not who you are. That is the slow bleed doing what the slow bleed does. You know what the most dangerous thing about a slow bleed is? The patient doesn't know they're bleeding. They just feel heavy. They swipe the access card every morning, pour the bad pantry chai, sit down at their desk, and they tell themselves, "Bus chal raha hai." Not good, not bad, just running. And they don't notice that each month they are a little less than the person who walked in the month before. If something in this video made your chest tight, if you recognized your own office, your own meeting room, your own appraisal form, then I want you to hear something. You were never too sensitive. You were never the problem. Your brain was doing exactly what 3.5 million years of evolution designed it to do. It was warning you. It has been warning you this entire time. The question is only this: are you going to keep calling it nothing, or are you finally going to call it what it is? This is Corporate Joker, and the bleed stops when you name it. Everyone in your office knows the project is behind. Everyone knows whose decision caused it. Everyone knows the client is furious. And yet, in the status meeting this morning, every single person in that room said the same thing: everything is on track. Next time on Corporate Joker, why your entire office is acting, why everyone knows the truth and no one says it, and why the system actually depends on everyone pretending. It's called performance theater, and it is older than your company, older than your industry, older than civilization itself.